away from an out-of-control car coming in her direction. "Why the silent treatment, Alexandra?" Corliss asked. I turned to the stenographer, who had recorded the testimony at several of my trials. "Lenny, let's go on the record, please." "Who's giving the orders in here? Somebody make you a judge while I wasn't looking?" Corliss asked. "Lenny, why didn't you go help yourself to a cup of coffee?" When Lenny stood up to leave the room, I turned my back to the bench and started to retrace my steps. Whoa, Corliss said. "Let's slow this down, Alexandra." Raymond Santiago looked up, leaning over past his lawyer to check out the minor commotion. His right hand moved instinctively to his groin, where he seemed to like to keep it most of the time when he wasn't stalking his victims. What Santiago's lawyer referred to as his client's hypersexuality was likely to be on constant display for the jury. I swiveled again. "I'm happy to talk to you, Your Honor," I said. "I want everything we say to be on the record. That's why I didn't answer when you first called out to me." "Stick around, Lenny," Judge Corliss said, motioning to the stenographer to sit. "Ms. Cooper wants on the record. We'll give her on the record. Like I was saying, she's just back from—" "I wasn't dead, Your Honor," I said, smiling at him. "Sorry to disappoint, but I wasn't even on life support." The Honorable Bud Corliss liked to bully young assistants like Helen Weiler. He would shut down the stenographer and launch verbal arrows at the prosecutors, each one tipped with a poisonous comment about his or her skills. Sometimes, if his target was an attractive young woman, he'd add a remark about her anatomy. Then, if she chose to complain to a superior about the comment, there were no traces of Corliss's bad behavior in the transcript. "I guess you really dodged a bullet, in the most literal sense," he said, sitting in his high-back leather chair and adjusting his gold cufflinks. "I mean, the night your late lamented boss was shot in the head, just a few feet away from you. Dodging that bullet." This was a conversation I didn't want to have in front of strangers, no less a perp charged with 17 counts of rape and aggravated sexual assault. "Strike that word, lamented," Corliss said to Lenny, editing his own remarks. "Not everybody got broken up about the forced retirement of Paul Battaglia after a few too many terms in office, did they, Alexandra?" "The district attorney mentored me, Your Honor," I said. "He put me in charge of the Special Victims Bureau a dozen years ago. I had nothing but respect for the man." "Let me ask you something," he said, leaning forward and putting both elbows on his blotter. "I have a few questions about what happened that—" "Judge Corliss, this is neither the time nor place," I said. "You've got jurors waiting for the testimony to resume. My colleague is anxious to complete the people's case by the end of the week, and the defendant, well—" "What about him?" "Mr. Santiago probably needs to get some medical attention for that itch in his groin he keeps scratching throughout our conversation," I said. "This might be a good time to give him a short restroom break and throw him some calamine lotion before I have Ms. Weiler add in a count of masturbating in a public place." "Good to know you haven't lost your sense of humor, Alexandra," Corliss said, as Santiago's inexperienced, court-appointed lawyer struggled to find grounds for an objection. 10-minute break, ladies and gentlemen. Let's clear the courtroom." Court officers handcuffed the prisoner and took him out to the holding pen that serviced the 13th floor trial rooms. His hangers-on, impervious to my comments, wandered out into the large corridor that ran the entire length of the enormous building. I sat at counsel table with Helen Weiler. "What do you need?" "I've made a terrible mistake, Alex," she said. "I don't think I'll get my first two victims back here if Corliss..."